Hello everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and today I would like to share with you all my final thoughts on the Griffin Knife Company Scout 3.5. Now this, it is an expensive knife. It's manufactured by Best Tech. I do currently have skiffs installed in here as well. Yeah, this is an expensive knife, and this is also what would be considered a plain Jane variation, because a lot of the other versions available on DLT Trading and other platforms, other online retailers, some of them cost significantly more than this. Maybe not like $100 more, but within $100 more than what this is. This thing was $370 basically. That's after taxes, with free shipping included, I suppose. But I got zero regrets. This thing has been an absolute unit. It's been a beast in the workplace and a genuine fidget monster. It is a pocket anchor. It is very heavy. And there are actually two other variations that I believe are heavier than this. There's one that has a zirconium inlay, and there's another one that has a brass inlay. Yikes, those things are ripping your pants right off. You're gonna need suspenders with this particular design. So, but I think that was the intention from the designer, to make a hard use, thick boy overseas production that is just, it's just awesome. I am not the biggest fan of large knives. This is a 3.5, and that's in reference into the available cutting edge. There is a 3.0 and a 2 or 2.0. But they're also about the same dimensions when it comes to thickness and robustness of everything else. Now, why did I go with the largest one? I have no clue, but you know what? I don't regret it, because this thing's pretty awesome. And the way that everything is shaped, it allows me to get a pretty tight purchase on this, and it's really not that bad to use in my place of work. Now, I typically gravitate towards smaller to medium-sized knives with something of a more utility blade shape, but because this has just a tad bit above the center of the pivot, the tip itself is pretty easy to get to, so I like this quite a bit. Now, it is very thick, and I don't have specs in front of me, but unlike a lot of other reviews that I've done in the past, I don't typically talk about the thickness in comparison to other stuff, but with this one I'm going to, because it does feel significantly thick, and I do genuinely believe that it's worth talking about how robust this is, and how wide it is in hand, how tall it is, and just the presence overall. Sorry, I have my dogs barking over here. My wife just got home, so they're gonna be going off for a second. Give me one moment, I will be right back. Alrighty, I'm back. Sorry about that. So yeah, this thing, it's thick. It's pretty freaking juicy. And even behind the edge as well, it's very robust. But it is tall. The flat is, it's up there. Definitely is not a full flat. I think it would have been really nice if this was a hollow, but of course, if it was a hollow, it'd be a little bit more on the delicate side, I suppose, if you're looking for a pretty heavy duty frame lock design. So it's fitting. Everything kind of just makes sense. But let's do some size comparisons here. So we can start with a couple big guys. This is the WE Knives Praxis. As you can see, the Praxis is just a hair bit shorter, what it looks like to me. Yeah, it's a hair bit shorter, not by much. Come on. There we go. This is the Sencut Knives Glide Strike. Now, the Glide Strike is a little bit longer overall. And we can go ahead and do thickness up against the Praxis. Yeah, it's pretty freaking meaty. So the Praxis, it's a very slim stocked knife, and the Scout 3.5 is, again, pretty robust. So Let's do a couple more. There we go. This is the Spyderco Manix 2 Lightweight. Civivi Vision FG. A little bit longer overall than those two. We can do thickness up against this guy. Yeah. Last two, but most definitely not least, CMB Maiden Edge Predator and Spyderco Native 5. So it's a big knife. It's pretty darn thick in hand, that's for sure. But it's not like it's ginormous. Like it's not like genuinely like a huge knife, but it's really weighty. And speaking of weight, let's just get the weight on this thing. .9. That's a pocket rock, pocket anchor, however you want to call it. Alrighty, so let's just go up closely, just show you guys this thing. Beautiful, beautiful stonewash, T8 hardware. It's all titanium, mind you, all titanium hardware, including the pivot. It's wonderful, all T8. The clip, design-wise, beautiful. No fancy milling or anything crazy like that, but it's very ergonomic, zero hotspot to me at least, and it's contacting the flat portion of the actual scale itself. So in and out of the pocket, zero hangups. It's a masterpiece for what it is. Magnet cut blade material, if I have not mentioned that before. Ergonomically speaking, it's pretty darn nice in hand. You can choke up right behind that edge, and as you can see here, a wonderful design of or I suppose the execution of a sharpening choil and the plunge grind right there. The plunge grind is on the shorter side, but while I haven't sharpened this yet, I put my own edge. I'll lay it back a little bit, not by much, but I should be able to get a good bit of life without widening that too much or creating a smile. My only concern is that it is relatively close to the shouldering here of the scales, so I gotta be a little wary with my stones. I use the Wicked Edge sharpening system, and so you just gotta be aware of that to make sure not to nick any of the shouldering of the titanium. Like I'm talking about this area right here. In particular, you don't want to hit that with your stones by accident, because that would suck. You don't want to mess up this beautiful stone wash tie. Now the stone wash in here, it's on the lighter side. It's not super heavy. It's not visually aggressive by any means. Would have been nice if maybe there was a little bit more, just something a little bit nicer done to it, but really I'm not complaining too much about it. You do have a over travel stop. It's a hardened steel insert, and it has a ceramic detent ball. As I mentioned earlier, skiffs, it takes the size of, I believe, 5mm 1/16, and the skiffs, while they didn't make a huge difference in it because there's just so much mass in that blade, the skiffs allow me to not have to crank down the pivot all the way to get solid side to side. So technically I am getting better action, a little bit more free flowing, but free flowing and super drop shotty action on a knife of this caliber, this size and dimension and weight and all, a little scary, because it's a lot of knife, and if that were to drop down on your nail, you may split your nail, and that will kind of suck. So that's something that you may run into. Just be a little careful. One thing that's nice is that after disengaging, there is this little stumpy tab that will hit your thumb before the live edge actually does, and you can go ahead and get out of the way and just let it come all the way home. So another thing too, you cannot touch that edge, which is wonderful. You have a full tie backspacer here, It has the same coating. I believe it's a DLC coating. It has all the hardware and clip and blade itself. It's not shiny. It's not polished. It's not nothing fancy like that. There is the tiniest bit of, it's not a stone wash, but it almost looks like it's like this matte finish that almost has like a bead blast over it. It's not the same as what's on a DLC coating that's on a Spyderco. It's a little bit finer, as you can see here. So it's a little bit different. So, but I'm pretty sure it's a DLC. If anybody knows for certain, feel free to correct me, because I could very well be wrong. But yeah, the deployment on this has a couple different ways of deployment. I did have to actually lighten up the detent on this. So there are these little, not fully cutouts, but these little spaces here that you can go ahead and deploy off of. They're not super crisp, but they're well rounded off, but not overly done. And then the jimping here, it's very wide, spaced out, and robust. I would have preferred something a little bit finer, but because of the positioning of the actual front flipper, it's pretty fun to fidget with. So you can even go with your index finger, the side of your index finger. You get so much leverage that the strength of the detent doesn't even really make much of a difference. The only time where I actually feel a difference in strength or difficulty of deployment is when it comes to reverse flicking, because eventually that kind of starts to, like, I don't know, scratch the side of my middle finger, and it, after messing around with this thing for a while, it does start to wear on you a good bit. That's just been my experience. Thumb flick, it's about the same. You feel it, you know, it eventually starts to wear on your skin a little bit. But while this isn't really the most appropriate knife to be fidgeting with, you know, who am I to say what you can fidget with or not? So this is something that I have most definitely been fidgeting with a lot. And after loosening up the detent and detuning it, I suppose, I still have beautiful side to side, up and down, zero, anything, any pivot lash, none. That is freaking beautiful. And on a lot of other knives being manufactured by other companies, that's something that's typically missed and just kind of overlooked because it's genuinely not that big of a deal. But it is worth mentioning because it's impressive that they accomplish what they do. Zero movement in the detent when it's closed. The execution of this thing is just wonderful. And good job to the Bestech, that's for sure. The design of the the frame itself here, that cutout for disengagement, beautiful. Would not have changed it for nothing. There's nothing I could do to this to actually improve it in my mind. So you can see that there's plenty of space to get at it. It's not super tight in there, and it's a very comfortable spot to push off that bar. And you can see the actual cutout right here. It's not just straight, it's kind of angled in a way. I think it's interesting looking, and it gets relatively thin, but not to where it's like dainty thin. This overall design, it's incredible. I think that it was a well thought out knife manufactured by just the right company, and in result you get a pretty beefy freaking overseas knife. And yeah, there's nothing I can genuinely complain about this thing. It is borderline perfect, and while it is expensive, yes, for base model is essentially $370, there are other variations, so technically this does cater to the enthusiast. So if you want to be an enthusiast in this hobby, you gotta have deeper pockets, deeper than me. It would have been pretty nice to get a variation with maybe some like carbon fiber inlays, because they have that as well. And it looks like they do have T8 screws holding them in. So I do prefer screwed in inlays versus glued in, because you can unscrew them and anodize if you want to, or do other forms of customization to the frame itself or the titanium base itself, and then just screw down those inlays again. Also, there is an inlay on the other side here as well, but with more inlays, more things, more fasteners, you have more screws. So the reason why I went with this was that this was just a sweet spot for me. I was able to experience the design and I still have the ability to customize. So at a honestly reasonable price point, I don't regret buying this thing. There's like zero stink to it now that I have it in hand, and it's a wonderful, robust, beefy knife. So if you're in the market for something like this, of this size, the 3.5, go for it. You are not going to be disappointed. Now, if you're just not a fan of something that's going to weigh this much, even though there is a butt ton of internal milling, it still weighs as much as it does. There's the 3.0, and if you want something that is a 5th pocket carry that's still kind of, you know, small and tanky, there is the 2.0. So there's a lot of variation when it comes to this particular design, and I can't wait to see what else is offered in the future and where this design will go. I think that functionally speaking, it's excellent. Visually speaking, it's a beautiful design for sure, and I can't really think of another company that would have been able to knock it out of the park the way that it was done here. So Best Tech, good freaking job. And to Griffin Company, beautiful design. Like, this thing is just, it's freaking awesome. So with that being said, if you guys like this video, go ahead and leave a like down below. If you are subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate all your support and your patience, of course. If you are not subscribed, please consider subscribing, because I have plenty more videos and content coming you guys this way. And with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.